So that's one of the first things I wanted to show you, which is really just kind of zooming in or zooming out and looking at the big picture of, who you're dealing with when you're looking at the financial industry or dealing with the financial industry. This is certainly not erasing as fast as I thought it would. We made it to put a little glass cleaner on it. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk to you about is really, I think, a helpful approach for those of you that don't necessarily have a financial advisor at this point or in the market to look for one. I will do my best not to make this self-serving. I really want to provide you with as much value as possible. I will say that the firm that we designed 12 years ago is the firm that I would look for. But ultimately, that doesn't mean you have to work with us. I want to give you as much value as I possibly can. And the way that I look at this is much like my duty as a fiduciary, is to put myself in your shoes and imagine myself as you. And if I were a client, with all the knowledge I have of how this industry works, and I were looking for an advisor, there's really kind of 3 criteria that I would look for. And this is important. The first one is one that we've already kind of mentioned, and that's working with someone who is a fiduciary. Now, what that means is they have a legal obligation to always do what's in your best interest or face severe penalties. Now, you don't necessarily want to take somebody's word for it either, though. If you ask certain brokers or advisors if they're fiduciaries, they'll answer in ways like, well, we always do what's in our client's best interests, but that's not really answering the question. So what I recommend that everyone do is that you actually go to a website, and it's a government website. Not that government websites are always fantastic, but this is a pretty good one. And it's advisor info. It's advisor with an O, which is I'm sorry, I messed that up. It's advisor with an E. So let me fix that real quick. Advisor with an E, which is the English spelling rather than the American spelling. But over on this site, you can actually look up any advisor. Doesn't matter who they are. And there's really 2 things that you're looking for here. One is underneath their name, it's going to say investment advisor and or broker. If it says broker, they're not a fiduciary. Doesn't matter what they tell you. Okay. If it directs you to go to the FINRA website, which is really the regulatory body, kind of like the police of the financial industry, if it directs you to the FINRA website, then they're a broker, pretty much. I will say that there's one other thing you want to look for here, and that is, don't use 1 again. Let's use A and B, is you want to look at the disclosures. And disclosures are if an advisor has ever gotten in trouble, paid a fine, paid a fee, had a complaint, some sort of dispute with a client. I will tell you this, though. If you have someone that you've met with and you really trust them and they fit this other criteria I'm going to share with you, and they have a disclosure, well, it doesn't mean you shouldn't work with them. It just means that you want to ask about it. Don't be afraid to ask about it. Just say, hey, because this is a very important topic, picking an advisor. This is something that can dramatically impact your financial future and many other aspects of your life. A disclosure, if there is one on the page, you can actually click on it and get more information. So I'm going to move this out of the way real quick and go to the other criteria for you. The second criteria that I would certainly look for, again, if I were a client with all the knowledge of this industry that I have, is looking for someone who's independent. Now, what I mean by that is that typically when you work for a larger firm, you a lot of times will have a sales manager. You might even have quotas or pressure to perform. You also might have proprietary products. I can tell you in my experience in this industry, proprietary products are kind of an interesting thing. I've never actually seen, not to say they don't exist, but I've never actually seen a proprietary product that was in the client's best interest. Typically, it just means that the advisor gets paid more to sell it. That's just what I've noticed. And so what you're looking for here is no sales manager, no quotas or pressure to perform, and no proprietary products. And you'll have to forgive me, my handwriting is not that great, but hopefully you can read it. The third criteria that I want to share with you is also incredibly important, and it has to do with finding an advisor that has a holistic approach. And what I mean by that is finding an advisor that helps you with more than just investing. And there's a reason that I feel this way. It's something that I've noticed a lot in this industry, is that people will have 1 or 2 or 3 advisors because they think it's a good idea to diversify their financial advisor. That's actually a pretty bad idea. I wouldn't recommend doing that. And the reason why is advisors typically aren't going to talk to each other. And so you have really no idea how much risk you're taking. But more importantly, the advisors that you work with don't really have any idea how much risk you're taking because they don't know what you're doing with the other advisors. But then it goes a lot further. People will have their State Farm insurance guy, they'll have their Medicare guy or girl, they'll have their estate planning attorney, their CPA, all these different financial professionals in their life. And any one of these people can mess up your financial future. In particular, what I consider to be kind of the sacred triangle, which is the advisor, the CPA, and the estate planning attorney. These are people that have a lot of crossover in terms of their responsibility and the activities they do to help you. And so I highly recommend that you find an advisor that can help you with a lot more than investing. But this does sound a little bit like I'm tooting my own horn here because we are one of the few holistic firms around, but that doesn't mean you have to work with us. It just means that you want to have an advisor that is willing to meet with your CPA, to talk to your CPA, to run things by your CPA, that an advisor that might be willing to go to the estate planning attorney meetings with you. And what this ultimately boils down to is something that's far more powerful for you, something that I refer to as a team-based approach. Hopefully you can see the value in that.
Click the card in the corner of the window to continue this webinar. Please remember to like this video and subscribe for more educational content.